Welcome YouTube. Today we got a 2001 Ford F-250 with the Triton 5.4 liter. We're replacing the idle air control valve, also known as the IAC. This truck came in, no check engine light, but on a cold start it is having trouble maintaining idle. It's wandering all over the place. Common issue with these is the idle air control valve, so we are going to change that out today. Here's our new part. Not much to it. It's located on the back side of the throttle body on the intake. You see right there. It is on top of the engine, but it is going to be a little difficult to get to. This is a right side. I think we're going to go in from the left side here. We're going to remove this air intake tube, and there's a little more room to get your hands back in there to get those two bolts off, and it's got a electrical connector and a rubber hose going to it. So let's get started. Okay, we removed the air intake tube and also the hose going to the idle air control valve. This rubber 90 comes off the back of it and goes into the air intake tube. Also have an electrical connector over here we need to pop off. I'll reach my hand back there, unplug it, and then I'm going to go around to the left side where we took the air tube out. And there is a lot more room to get your hand back in there and to get a ratchet and a socket. There's two 8mm head bolts holding it in, one on the top, one on the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and get those removed and pull that valve out of there. Okay, I've got the valve loose. It's just laying there, so we'll just pull it out. They like to get carbon buildup down in there. There's a little pintle that goes in and out. They get buildup in there and restricts the movement of the valve. Once you get the valve out of there, there's also a rubber seal in the back of the plenum. You'll have to make sure you get that removed. Let's see. This is what our new one looks like. The old one in there, this one's pretty pliable. The old one in there, they get pretty stiff, so you want to make sure you replace this. Otherwise, there's a good chance you'll have an air leak, and that will cause idle conditions as well. They're kind of difficult to see. I've got a old rearview mirror I use. I'm just going to place that back there so I can see what I'm doing, and then I'll just use a 90-degree pick and try to pull that out of there. And also make sure it's clean and there's no carbon buildup for your new seal, so that it won't affect anything on that new seal. So I'm going to go in there, I'm going to yank that old one out, and then we'll start reinstalling the new part. Okay, here's the old one. It came out in one piece. It all looks pretty clean back there from what I can see. So I'm going to go ahead and press the new seal in. Okay, we got the seal in and we're ready to put the idle air control valve, IAC, back in place. The two bolts are in. I've got them started by hand. That is a plastic intake plenum, and where the IAC bolts up to it is just little brass inserts inside the plastic. So make sure you start those bolts and get them threaded in by hand before you use a ratchet or an air ratchet on it. You'll spin those inserts out of that plastic pretty easy, and then you'll have quite the job trying to replace that. So make sure you got them in there several turns by hand. They go in nice and easy, both the top and bottom, before you run them in and tighten them down. Okay, we've got it tightened up. I'm going to put this 90-degree boot back on. And I'm going to plug in the electrical connector. Push it in and make sure you feel it click, and give it a slight tug to make sure it's fully seated on the connector. Now we'll go ahead, put the air intake tube back on. This is what hooks to the 90 coming back off the IAC. You'll have this hose coming off. You have one hose going to the PCV valve off the valve cover. Be sure to tighten these hose clamps back down 5/16 head, or 5/16 or 8mm. And we make sure we get these lines hooked back up. One on the valve cover. And that one goes to the IAC. Okay, we've got everything installed and tightened down. We want to take a minute just to look over everything we did, make sure we didn't miss any fasteners and all the lines and connectors are reconnected. Now that everything looks good, we'll close the hood, take it for a test drive. And that's all there is to changing out your idle air control valve on your Ford 5.4 Triton V8. Thanks for joining us today. Do us a favor today and hit that like button at the bottom. And if you really could help us out by subscribing to our channel. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.